Starting off with
Recording in
item A,
progress.
City of Yelm Employee of the Year. Employee of the Year award is the first for the City of Yelm. Employee of the Year covers all employees in every department. This award was discussed and voted on by every department director. There were several nominations that were put forward and discussed at length. Say that we have excellent employees representing and working for the city is a complete understatement. Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing our first all-city employee of the year. The department director for the employee receiving this recognition will make the presentation. Tonight, making the presentation is our IT director, Jason Hardy. Please come on in.
Hey, everybody, at the podium, Joe.
Please.
So, with that, it is with great pleasure that I announce Aaron Green as the City of Yelm Employee of the Year for 2022. Throughout the year, Aaron has consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to excellence, always going above and beyond. His dedication and outstanding quality of work has been invaluable to the success of the city. Aaron joined Yelm's IT team in 2018 and has been an instrumental team member since. In addition to his role as Yelm's IT network administrator, he's also a union shop steward, works closely with all departments throughout the city, helps maintain and manage city infrastructure, and plays critical and lead roles in Yelm's projects. Aaron consistently provides innovative solutions to complex problems and has demonstrated an impressive ability to balance multiple projects simultaneously while still making the deadlines on the projects. He is not only a technical expert, but also a natural leader with an assertive yet positive attitude. His exceptional ability, dedication, and commitment to excellence make him an exemplary role model for all employees of the City of Yelm, and we're glad to have him. We congratulate Aaron on his well-deserved honor and thank him for his hard work, commitment, and making the City of Yelm a better place for everybody.
Yeah, here, come on up. We'll do a picture here from council. Thank you so much for your service. I need a stool here. Yeah. Hold it. Thank you for your service to the City of Yelm. Well deserved. All right. And Aaron, if you want to say something, please.
Well, I can think of a lot of employees here in the City of Yelm that deserve this award. A lot of people here wear a lot of hats and do a lot of different things every day, and we always do more with less. So I appreciate the fact that I was considered for this, and thank you guys for taking the time out of your days to congratulate people and support that.
Thank you. And Aaron's family is also here as well. If you want to give a little wave, be sure we all know. Yeah. Thank you. All right, moving on then to the next portion of our special presentations. Item B is Experience Olympia and Beyond, and it hits CTA and CEO of Olympia Beyond.
Very good. Well, that's a really hard act to follow. Oh, I'm really happy to get to be here today, guys. Thank you so much. I did bring just some materials just for fun. What I'm going to be talking about is just what the role of hospitality and tourism is in Thurston County, and specifically for Yelm. It's not a conversation that we get to have enough. And it was something I think even Mayor DePinto and I were talking about recently, that I think there's just more work to be done in terms of getting the lines of communication open. So I see this as just kind of step one, just sharing some information, and I will try to talk fast. Cut me off when you need to cut me off. If you have questions, just please ask as we go. And Kathy, bless you, is going to be my slide advancer. So if you can do that, that would be wonderful. We have a little
scroll down since I have this. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So is everybody familiar with our organization? It's called Experience Olympia and Beyond. Show of hands. Do you know what we are, what we do? We are, okay, so we used to be called the Olympia Lacey Tumwater Visitor and Convention Bureau, pre-2016. They went through a rebrand, changing the name to Experience Olympia and Beyond. We are the Visitor Bureau, or the official designated destination marketing organization for the county. So that means our job is to bring visitors to Thurston County, and that includes the city of Yelm. And I feel really good to talk to you guys back there too. So that's what we're here to do. One of the things that I think people forget about when it comes to tourism is why it matters in the first place. I think people tend to have two visceral responses. Either they want more of it because they know, more people coming to the area is going to support the economy, or they're like, please do not bring more people to our area. We want it to stay the same. And one of and both are reasonable responses. But what we try to do is share what a balanced tourism economy can bring to an area and what that can mean. And that you as a community have the choice to shape what you want that to mean for your community. It should not be our program just guessing and throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks. We want to find path toward a tourism economy that works for you and works for us. So one of the things that is really important, and I think folks forget about tourism, is that when we bring visitors to the area, we are bringing new money to your economy. If you can go ahead and scroll down to the next slide. Why this is important is because the way Annette looks at the economy, a very simplified view, not like a real economist, but I look at the world's economy in terms of there's good money, there's neutral money, and then there's bad money. And in my line of work, good money is when we have new money that comes into the economy, and then it grows your community's overall wealth. Neutral money is just when we are supporting one another in our communities. We're buying local, we're going to the local galleries, we're going to local restaurants, we're having local beer. It's not growing the pool per se, but we're supporting one another, and it's not doing any harm. It's good. Bad money is when, rather than going down to ingenious, we're like, let's get some Amazon mass-produced art from a third world country made by children. That's bad money. We're sending our money away. We want to keep our funds local, and we want to bring more money into the economy. So tourism, by virtue of the fact that we're bringing people into the area, it means we're bringing their money with them. And the added benefit is we're saying, bye, come back. If you have problems, please take them with you. We want you to come meet our people, enjoy our town, do these really fun experiences, help grow our economy, but maintain our quality of life and our quality of place while you're here. Does that all make sense? Okay. Folks often will ask, well, what is this money that you're talking about? What is the money? What is that pool? There's really 3 buckets of funds, and people get real hung up on one of them, and it's not usually the obvious one. So the first one, obviously, just pure revenue. If they're coming here, they're staying the night at the Prairie Hotel, or they're staying at a short-term rental, or they're going to La Gitana, or they're going to drink beers. They're leaving money behind in the hands of those small business owners, which is new money. But what we don't necessarily, bless you, always think about is the fact that if they are spending the night, then those people who are coming and visiting us, they're leaving their lodging tax hopefully they're spending the night in paid accommodations. And then those facilities are then passing it through to commerce. It comes back to the county or the city, and away we go. We have a lodging tax advisory committee. They make recommendations. It gets refed into the machine so that you're reinvesting in tourism and bringing people back. It's a self-sustaining program, which is pretty rare. Usually, if you have an industry, you need it to be funded, and you're nonprofit like we are, you're relying upon the good graces of general funds, and you have to compete with things like affordable housing and what are we doing for our unhoused populations. We don't have to compete in that way because we fund ourselves through our own work. But the kind of the third bullet that's so important that we never talk about in tourism, which I think is most important to you guys, is that we have a huge amount of sales tax that's left behind in our communities from our visitors. And that sales tax is super important for you. And it's super important for all of us because we want to fund our emergency services. We want to be secure. We want to have our potholes filled. We don't talk enough about the impact of the sales tax left behind in our communities. We get hung up on bullets number 1 and number 2. And just for context, with this last year we had, and I think it's actually 2021, I think I have the wrong date. We had over $445 million that was left in Thurston County just in our industry, which by the way, ain't even close to coming back to 2019 yet. So it's a huge industry, but it's kind of an invisible industry because we don't necessarily all have uniforms that are identifiable. So, if you want to advance. So just real quick, summarizing why that sales tax in particular is important. Obviously, it contributes to your general fund. It gives you guys money to work with to make the decisions that you're all here in service to make these good choices about. But why that's also important is because that is what creates that quality of place and the quality of life that impacts everybody who's here. It's why folks want to live here. It's why people have lived here with their families for years and why other people want to come and get in there too, because they know it's gorgeous. And obviously it's an attractant to prospective business owners. So it may seem a little obvious, but not always. Go ahead and move. Okay, so this is where we're going to get to some interesting stuff. So I've only been in this role for not quite 2 years, and year 1 was just building back a program that was no longer here. Because of the pandemic, obviously everything was shut down. Nothing was happening. So we had to start from ground zero. We did all the usual things. We started our PR, we got a new website, we started advertising again, all the garden variety things that you would suspect. But there's a lot of tools available today in our industry that never were available before. Usually when you have really difficult times, innovation happened during the Depression, it happened during the pandemic as well. So there are research tools that we have access to. We don't get anybody's personal information. So you don't have to worry that we're like tracking people, but we're tracking people kind of. We are able to leverage data from people's phones. We don't have their names. We don't know anything about the individuals. But what I can do is say, guys, this is what happened in Yelm just during this last year. I just pulled this data for this presentation, and you can see the visitation over on the left, you know, down on the lowest bar is 20,000 up to 40,000. Obviously, you have a peak season in July, bracketed by June and July, and I have a hunch these are probably community events, right? So doing their work. But all of the rest of that year is where year-round tourism work, like what my program does, matters, is because you can't have tourism events happening all year round. You can, but I don't think that we really do. We don't really have critical mass of a ton of tourism events being marketed year-round. So this shows you really the impact of your events, but it also shows the impact of the work that we're doing throughout the year. You can go ahead and advance. Okay, the next slide is after this one. We have an in-house researcher. She's a market research analyst. She is brilliant. And we did a survey this last year, well, leading up, I think it was August through October, where we had over 400 people respond. We had a mix of, for the first time, we asked the very same questions about people's perceptions about our destination in Thurston County. We asked them of our stakeholders, so people like you, people running nonprofits, people running their own businesses. We also just asked our local residents for their sentiment. And then we also asked our visitors, because we didn't want to just know what their individual thoughts were. We wanted to see where the differences lie. Does that make sense? Okay. And we found that when we asked what brought people to our area, the answers were anything but what we thought they were. We all kind of had a hunch that people were coming to Thurston County because they were going to Seattle, they were going to Portland, they were going to the peninsula, they were going to Rainier, and that they were kind of making choices to stop here along the way. And so we were going to really try to expand that. And that is happening to a degree. So if you look at the bottom bullets there, yes. And for you guys, most importantly, over 10% of those folks are going through to Rainier, which is, that's you guys. But way more important is that the number one reason people are coming here is because they want to see their family and friends. They have been here before. I think it was over 82% of the respondents said they have been here year over year. They just like to come here because their family lives here, their friends live here. And then we obviously behind that, we have people doing vacations and weekend getaways. So it's not that traveling, through the area isn't a valid reason for visitation, but it's only one small piece of the pie. And like looking at group tours and sports events, business meetings, important. Festivals and events, important. Weddings, conventions, obviously important, but they're all pretty small. This is work that has to happen year round, capitalizing on how do we make sure that we are equipping the citizens of Yelm to give their friends and family the best possible experience. It doesn't have to be that you want your destination to be overrun. We just want to make sure that we're managing the destination in the way that makes sense for you, so that you can inform each of yourselves, your friends and family, and your visitors to have the best possible time that you can. Go ahead and advance. This, I think, is a fun slide because it shows you where people came from this last year to come and see you. I don't know if you're as blind as I am, but I'm pretty sure that only 54-point-something% of people that came to Yelm were from the state of Washington. You have a lot more folks coming from around the world to come and see you than what you probably realize. And so I think why one reason why this is really important is because whether you want to have visitors in your area or not, they're already here and they're already interested in what you have to offer. And that's a very diverse group of people. So whatever you're doing, they like it. And so I think if I was the city of Yelm, I would be thinking about how do we decide and lead in partnership with my organization, of course, how do we shape the future of tourism in Yelm to make sure it's how you guys want. So you're not responding to people coming and being reactive rather than being proactive. You're chuckling over there.
No, sorry, keep going.
Like, it must be good.
I've got like 50 questions.
Good. I'm glad.
Good.
Well, I'm really glad. Okay, we can keep going. You can advance. And I think you can also like hit arrow keys sometimes.
I will do some arrow initially.
Okay, so this just gives you a little more detail. So we looked at origin markets for last year, and this is just the top cities in terms of volume. And by the way, what like those numbers on the right, those are a sample. This is not total volume. It is a sample. It represents about 15 to 20% of actual. So those numbers are far higher. And the reason why it's a sample, it's because there is a whole set of criteria that somebody has to go through to get picked up in the sample. You have to have a smartphone. You have to have it on. You have to have your location services on. You have to be using it for a certain amount of time. You have to be within specific geofences. You have to ping off of certain numbers of cell towers. What we don't want to have is people that are locals. I mean, we can look at local visitation, but my line of work, that's not really what we're here for. But so this is approximately 15 to 20% of actual. So these are this is kind of your bread and butter right now. You can go ahead and advance. When we look at my line of work again, since we're funded through the combination of lodging taxes, tourism promotion area assessments, and then private funds that we raise, I know that I'm beholden to my lodging properties. I have to put heads back in beds. If we're being entrusted with those funds, I have to make sure that I'm making really smart marketing decisions, that if we're trying to get people to stay in hotels, that we're marketing to where they're coming from. And where we're going to have the most night stays. And these are your top origin markets for people staying down the road at a hotel.
That we got about 8 more minutes now.
Okay.
I'll update it.
Okay. We'll go ahead and thank you. I told you, I will just.
You're good. No.
Okay. We asked folks what they love about the area. This shouldn't be surprising across the board, whether it's a stakeholder, a resident, or visitors. They think it's beautiful here. The thing that we all kind of chuckled at was that over on the far right and the visitors, interesting. Would not have thought that. You can go ahead and advance. marketing, you're always looking for what differentiates you, because we're not just competing with, you know, the towns down the road, we're competing globally. And so we have to try to figure out what is the thing that people know about our, bless you, about our destination, so that it's kind of your flag in the hill. Once they know where you are, then our job is to disperse them to the place that wants to receive them. And so I was honestly surprised that, and glad, being that our brand is what it is, that was the result. So that just kind of tells me, okay, yes, I get it. Our decision was strategic back in 2016 when they made the decision. It's still making sense right now. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I'll share this. You have the presentations, you can make it available, but we asked some open-ended questions of the respondents. Just, you know, what do you want more of that we don't have? And we got really different responses from our residents versus our stakeholders versus our visitors. Interesting, I think, for this community is over on the visitor top comments. They want more museums featuring Washington State artists. You guys have a lot of artwork going on, so it makes you very attractive to this group. They want racing events, boat racing, horse racing, car racing. You're close to South Sound Speedway, the stuff going on by Tenino Ranch, and all the equestrian development, especially around Yelm, really speaks to this. Obviously, folks want cleaner facilities for state parks and RVing. I think this is something that we're all hearing about. Go ahead. And we can go quickly through this. You can just kind of flip through. We are telling the Yelm story year round. This is some of the examples that I brought. This last year, we created co-brands for all of our communities. So Experience Yelm has its own brand that ties into our brand. We bought up the Experience Yelm URL and suite of URLs so that we could integrate that and reroute to your section of our website. The community guide is new. We printed those. They're also downloadable on our website. When I came in, our visitor guide had all of our communities, with the exception of one, had like a paragraph or two. And it's just like no bueno. So we took that in-house, and now that has a full multi-page section, and they're all equitable. So we can put a lot more information in about Yelm. And you can just kind of click through. That's the website and the community guide on the site, and some blogs about Yelm on the website. Look how I'm going to be on time. You guys are a part of the Bountiful Byway, a big product that we're promoting. So you're a key destination on that. They're just sections from the visitor guide. This is important. Just in the last year, I took a look at our Google Analytics to just look at Yelm. See, are people even looking at the Yelm stuff? I hope so. And they are. It's really grown. Our website as a whole, when we look at 2019, which is what we benchmark for pre-COVID, compared to today, we're up over 184%. Yelm is up 41% over last year. So it's all really good stuff, but you guys are resonating with visitors. You can go ahead. So this is basically the end of the presentation, and I'll take questions, but I just think we need to be working together more. I think you guys know your destination better than anybody. You're going to know what you want promoted and what you don't want promoted. I once accidentally gave away a secret fishing hole in Twist. I still am reminded about it to this day. So I'm very sensitive to the fact that every community is different, and that some stories you want to tell and some stories you don't. So I just want this to be an opportunity to open the lines of communication and figure out how do we work more together. And we are having a community listening session at Tenino City Hall on the last slide on April 27th, which is purely, we're going to share more information that we found. We're inviting all of our stakeholders in. We want to hear what's important to you. We're really, we're trying to fund a destination master plan for Thurston County to figure out what does this area as a whole want to be when we grow up 10 years down the road. And everybody has to have an equal seat at that table. So the community listening sessions will be kind of the beginning to setting that table. And that is all I have.
Questions from council? Councilmember Kaminsky?
Oh, thank you, Annette. This is all great. And it reminds me very much of what we're trying to do with our creative arts district, because all those numbers and implementations and things that you're doing is everything that we need to get the funding for our creative district.
Wow.
Maybe we can talk.
We went on to can.
Thank you.
I'm excited about the creative.
Oh, and you used to have a kiosk, didn't you? Near the Capitol?
So we used to have a visitor center at the Capitol, and what we do now is we contract with, or we won't contract, we partner with all of our local visitor centers. So we work with the Yelm Chamber, we work with all the various chambers and use their visitor centers. We just found that visitor behavior has really changed, and there isn't a ton of physical visitation as compared to people seeking information online. So whereas these communities already have really high functioning visitor centers, we're just supplying them with materials. Yeah, trying to support them and not divide, dilute too much.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councilor Crossman?
List.
I'll quickly about to sum it up in one quick time and relevance. So basically, why are you here tonight? What's the bottom line you want from the Yelm City Council?
I just want to be on your radar.
Okay,
There is not, I'm calling it my dog and pony show to all of our councils. Because I don't, like I said, I haven't been here quite 2 years yet, and I moved here from out of the area. So it's really been a process to get to know the environment, get to know my job, kind of figure out the lay of the land. But now I was at that point where we've gotten so much information, and I feel like we would not be good stewards of the funds if we weren't figuring out how do we better share this, kind of to your point. We have a lot of really exciting things that are happening internally that can be contagious, like website growth. Our SEO is really strong for our website and how that works. And we just make sure that we're all, and we don't charge membership dues anymore. If you are a tourism facing business, you're a restaurant, a place where somebody can shop, and experience agritourism. You just have to tell us you want us to promote you. We'll put you on our website. We'll put you on social media. If you want to do more, you can pay to do more. But there's not a specific ask today. It's just to get us better acquainted and say, we are a resource. We should be working together.
Other questions? Thank you very much, Nat.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
All right.
You can email me the rest of those questions. I know you have more.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 4, public comment. We have a couple blue cards. Is there anyone else from the public that wants to go ahead and speak? Address the council? All right, anyone online?
I don't see any hands raised online for public comment.
Okay. We are going to start with Mayor Jasmine here, who has some stuff she wants to address council with. Please.
Finance Director Stephanie, please make a budget amendment so we can have a free ice cream day at City Hall.
Questions, comments by the council?
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wait a second.
Finance Director.
What is your proposed budget for the ice?
$100.
Okay.
Well, we can make
manage that.
And I think actually Lynn's gonna work out of her budget to make something like this happen. So
Great,
we will try to make this a reality for Mayor Jasmine.
great idea.
It's a good one. I've heard that before in school, but it's a good one. I like it. All right, and now we have some other folks that would like to discuss some items. So Mike Brackett, would you please stand up to the podium and say your name for the record and go ahead and speak your piece.
Hi, everybody. Mike Brackett, I'm president of Prairie Soccer Club. I wanted to come up today for a couple reasons. One, to thank you guys. Because right now in Thurston County and Yelm area, we're having a real field crisis when it comes to youth soccer. We don't have space to play. And Longmire Park is a beautiful park and we have space there, and you guys have given us some space there for our younger ages. And it's regarded as one of the nicest fields in all of Thurston County. So when other teams are coming in, they're actually sending me emails telling me how nice that field is, how great it is to come play there. It's the best one they get to play on. It's taken care of so well. So thank you for that. But I wanted to make you aware of, just what's going on in the community when it comes to field space and field usage. And what it is for us with numbers and players and things like that. So currently in the spring soccer season, we have about 400 kids playing. That's ages 4 to about 16. Normally, we play into the 18-year-old kids and seniors in high school, but what's been happening over the past few years is we lose field space. And when I say lose field space, traditionally, because we've been in the city of Yelm for 40 years operating as Prairie Soccer Club. Traditionally, we were able to use school fields. And as the schools have now transitioned to turf, those fields now require an hourly rate. And as a recreational soccer club, to pay those rates, we just can't do it and allow the kids to play. We try to offer a affordable way for kids to learn and play and enjoy the game of soccer. And those rates just don't make it possible. So as all these nice new turf fields go in, every time that happens, we lose an area that we used to be able to practice. And now the only true soccer field that Yelm still had that was grass is being torn up over at the high school now to be transitioned to turf as well. So at this point, as far as practice fields go, we don't even practice on a soccer field in the city of Yelm. Longmire we reserve for our games because our U8, 9, and 10 players, we have 2 fields out there. One of the reasons we want to make sure that stays as nice as it is when we're working with Cody and his team out there, we only use that as game fields. We have 12 teams in those age groups, which is the largest category of age groups that we have in Prairie. That's why we elect to use those size fields out there. It gives the most kids a chance to actually play in Yelm. The other 13 teams that we have, our home fields are in Tumwater, Centralia, Olympia, and Lacey. So their home games, or the home games that they get to play, are not here in the city of Yelm. And some of our even younger age groups, they're playing our 6 and 7-year-olds are in City of Rainier playing there because there's a field that can accommodate that. But we really don't have the space to do what we need to do. And some of the restrictions now are coming down to we're getting later and later time frames to be able to practice. So spring season is always rough with time change and everything else. And currently, the school has us at Fort Stevens. We have those, they're not soccer fields, they're just play fields. You guys have probably seen them. There's some grass there, a little bit of room. But they don't allow us on those fields until 6 p.m. So when I have 24 teams trying to get an hour practice in at 6 o'clock at night, we can't double them up. There's not enough daylight in the day to do it. So we're really struggling with just a place to practice and play. We love a place to be able to have, home games and all that other stuff. But honestly, after this season and moving into the fall, we just don't know what's going to happen. Because traditionally in the fall, football takes every open field that's there, and we traditionally lose the ones that we get in the spring. And we end up with 3 or 4 different places to play. We are partnered with the churches, Prairie Christian, and those you've probably seen our kids out there playing as you drive by over there. Which is great. They're fields, they're not soccer fields. For our younger ages, those work really well because they play on smaller fields. But when it gets to our older age groups, I coach the U15 team, I have 23 15-year-old boys on my team, and we play on 110 by 70 yard soccer field. So if we have to practice in a space that's 100 feet by 100 feet, it really doesn't work well for them as they're trying to learn the game and play the game. So traditionally what's been happening, we've seen happen in our club is U4 and 5, we turn away hundreds of kids every season because we don't have anywhere for them to practice. 6 and 7, same thing. 8, 9, 10, and 11, strong. As soon as we hit that 12 and 13-year-old, kids start to leave the program because they go and play in Chinquale or Lacey's clubs because they need a better place to practice when they get in the older ages. And we don't have that here in Yelm. So the ask is just really this: if you have a area or something that could be transformed or just cut, mowed, we'd love to partner with you, do anything we could to help facilitate actually having a field. You know, Longmire has, we put the goals out there, those soccer goals or prairie goals, we put them out there and we work together to take care of, make sure everything works so well. And I feel like we've partnered with you guys really great when it comes to Longmire. We try to make sure that, you know, we take care of the facility. Some of the other members of the board are usually there every weekend, making sure that things are cleaned up and done and the parents are having an enjoyable experience at it. You know, so I really just wanted you guys to be aware. I can answer any questions you have about the club numbers, any of that stuff. But we really are getting into a place where soccer in Yelm is gonna start to fall off because there's just nowhere for us to do it.
Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
Just a quick question. You mentioned that the schools, since they're switching up, they're charging to, can you just ballpark what's the rate, just out of curiosity?
$100 an hour.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Grossman.
2 questions. So I have a daughter here in soccer this year, but she went to the school district. Are you guys in competition with the school? Do your seasons run congruently?
So they do, and we're not in competition with the school. Actually, Prairie partners with the school. Was she playing at Ridgeline or?
I'm saying, she played in middle school, Yelm Middle.
Yelm Middle. So Dennis, was he her coach?
No, she was on C1. So that's part of that is I was amazed at how many girls, and she's a girl,
That's right.
we're playing soccer. I was like, oh my gosh, they have like 4 teams at the middle school, same at Ridgeline. I was like, that is a lot of,
It's a good perspective. They had 71 players turn out at Yelm Middle.
yeah,
We had 66 turn out at Ridgeline for girls soccer. 3 of the coaches at Yelm Middle and 2 of the coaches at Ridgeline are Prairie coaches as well. So they coach those girls outside of the season there. So and what typically happens when they're playing school is we take a second field, right? So those players may practice with us. They're excused from practices when they have games. They're excused from all conditioning training on our end, so the school. And we work with the coaches, of course, some of them are on the board as well. But we work with those coaches to help facilitate that program and try to build a Yelm soccer program that has struggled, to be perfectly honest, over the last several years. About the last 10 years, the Yelm school soccer program has struggled to be competitive. Some of that is just pure and simple that we just haven't. Prairie didn't do a great job at getting those kids ready to play. And we're doing a lot more internally with our director of coaching and all that, try to build those kids up and get them ready for the schools and play in the schools and really show what Yelm can be.
I mean, because is there a way you guys could shift your dates to make it where, I mean, I don't know, how the other soccer leagues play with the school?
The trouble is that
Why you get to the leagues, right?
well, so Washington State Youth Soccer puts us all into regions, right? So we're part of Thurston County Youth Soccer. They set our schedule. So in order for us to have other teams to play, we basically live in their world. So Washington Youth Soccer sets the schedules. There's actually 3 seasons of which one Yelm does not participate, which is summer. But spring and fall we do. And they set those seasons, and that's how we have competition and other teams to play. If we did an internal thing where we just played teams in Yelm, we would struggle with enough teams to actually have a season. You know, we usually in our age groups will have, even in our younger age groups, we'll have 3 or 4 teams. But if you're going to do an 8-week season against 3 teams, you're going to play the same people over and over and over again. And again, we don't have the field space for them to even play those games here in Yelm. So there wouldn't be a way for us to do that effectively. So we're kind of stuck in our seasons because of the way Washington Youth Soccer works. But
And my final question is, you've been at the school board to petition them, and
Absolutely.
Okay.
yeah, I have done a lot of research to try to figure out where the numbers came up with that stuff. But you know, it is what it is. The school board can set their rental rates, and that's what they've basically set for those. The middle schools are more affordable at $50 an hour. But when I charge $65 for a kid to play the entire season, it's just not really affordable. And to really make it work, we'd have to charge $200 to $300 a player just to get 2 practices a week for the teams, and that's just gonna price too many families out of being able to play, and that's not what we're trying to do. We want those kids to play.
Councilmember Blair, Hess, then Kaminsky.
What's their reasoning that they've given you for charging?
They said that's what their upkeep costs are to take care of the fields, so we need to pay that in order to do it.
There, yeah, I mean. Councilmember Hess.
Say they went to turf, it's artificial turf is what they went to, right?
That is correct.
Which theoretically is easier to take care of than grass, because you don't have to keep reseeding, you don't have to bring in sod, you don't have to fill in the divots and everything else like that.
I would completely agree with you.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what they changed to.
Yeah, because the grass fields, like they let us play at Ridgeline on the grass, and they let us play at the high school on the grass for free. And now that it's turf, now it's $50 an hour, or $100 an hour because it's turf.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Would you need an acre or what would be the minimum amount that you need?
Honestly, the minimum amount would be like 100 yards by 50 yards.
100 by 50.
Right? That's a field.
That's a soccer
That's
field.
what it is. That's a field. That's, you know. There's lots of things we can do. And we actually worked with Longmire for the football field there, and we were able to put two of the younger fields, full size, on that one football field that they have. And allowed enough space and allowed some room for those to be moved around. As the season goes on and, you know, areas can get chewed up. We can move those fields over. So that, you know, they're up all the ground. So obviously the more is better, but we can work with very little.
I'll watch out for you. See if I can find-
Any other questions, Councilmember?
Real quick, I want to thank you for coming out because I think sports are very important. My daughter played sports all in Yelm, you know, both through the school and competitive. And so I just want to thank you for coming out and sharing all that because, yeah, I think it needs, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully something can be done. So, thank you.
I appreciate it. We do have, we know the need for more parks in Yelm. It's under what we should be. The amount of residents we have, it's part of our parks plan to increase our park sizes. With different kinds, soccer, football, all kinds of different parks. So it's, I don't want to say it's in the works right now, but we are looking for potential opportunities for more land. It costs money, obviously, to build these things. But we are looking, and it helps that you're here, you know, with the need and letting us know about that.
Yeah. Well, it's for me, it's trying to get the recognition out that soccer is a sport in Yelm too. Because right now there's 9 baseball fields in Yelm, there's 5 football fields in Yelm, there's 0 soccer fields in Yelm.
I grew up playing for that same league, so yeah, I get it. Playing on prairie on the grass fields there, and yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, it's a great program. I've coached and joined the board, and now I'm the president of the board because it's a great program and we love the kids. They need to learn how to play and they need to get off the video games and out doing something outside.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Deborah Hamilton. Something, Councilman.
So Laura Hamilton, and I'm part of the Prairie Soccer Board as well. And I guess I just want to tie it back into what the lady had just spoken about as far as bringing in outside money to the location here. We play Lewis County, Mason County, and other Thurston County teams. And we could have, if we had fields here, a minimum of 4 games on that one field every day, 11 players per game. Their families bring them because we do not have buses in the rec area. So when you start multiplying that out, people are bringing money into this town and supporting the kids. And that's not even counting what we could do for adults as they get older, like a lot of times at 18. Okay, where are the fields to play on? Nobody's no longer playing, but I think that we can take our recreational soccer program and keep it going until they're 30, 40, 50 years old. And I just think it's a healthier community. Like she said, what do you want this community to look like in 10 years from now? Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. All righty, anyone else from the public that wishes to comment? Anything? All righty, moving on then, under new business. Under A, 6A, clarifying and approving new language to be added to these. Councilmember Hess?
Item 5.
Are you talking about the consent agenda that I just skipped over?
To approve the consent agenda.
Absolutely.
I second it. Carry that.
Motion by Councilmember Hess to approve the consent agenda, with Councilmember Smith seconding it. And just for the record, it's the February 7th, 2023, February 28th, 2023, March 7th, 2023, and March 14th, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Councilmember Hess. Moving on to item 6, new business. A, clarifying and approving new language to be added to the existing SRO contract between the Yelm Community Schools and the city of Yelm to improve the invoicing process for the SROs, time spent in the schools. I believe we have the chief up for this.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Please.
Thank you. I'm here to propose a motion to approve added language to better define the invoicing process to the existing school resource officer contract between the Yelm Community Schools and the city of Yelm, which was approved by council July 26, 2022. And as you know, when that being approved, that Yelm Community Schools, we entered in a contract, the city of Yelm entered in a contract with Yelm Community Schools for the Yelm Police Department to provide 3 school resource officers. In that contract, the Yelm Community Schools was going to pay $75,000 per SRO per year, to include a 5% stipend above that officer's base salary. Communication between our finance department as well as the school's finance manager. It was decided that language that we had in the original contract needed to be approved or actually improved to better understand that invoicing process. So there's no change in the financing whatsoever. It's just new language that we need to add to the original contract to streamline that financing process.
Is there any questions from council? Councilmember Hess?
Move to approve the added language.
Councilmember Crossman?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on, new business, item B, resolution number 635, amending appendix 13, the mayor and city council protocol manual, adding a permanent homeless committee. And I'm not sure if we needed to call it the homelessness committee, the homeless committee. Councilmember Brooks, did you have any? You're the kind of the one pushing for this. Is there any comments on the naming of it, of the committee?
There were several comments on the naming of the committee. And we wanted to stick with the word homeless, but I think homeless is we were leaning towards. We thought of a lot of different ideas, but this is where we ended up landing, right? This is where we're at now. Is it too late to change it?
I think the language, the name of it is not so much as significant as the actual resolution itself. It disbands it. I do think it is important to call it the right name.
Absolutely.
So when a council member makes this motion, should they choose to, I would just recommend adding it to a permanent homelessness committee. It's up to council on your wording and all that stuff. So, who do we have presenting this? You, Kathy? All right, please.
So, I can see you. So we actually have the next 2 items on the agenda. The first one is resolution number 635. And so there's a 2-step process to make this a permanent committee, as was discussed at the study session on March 7th. So the first one would be this resolution 635 is adding it to the appendix 13 of the mayor and council protocol manual. Adding the appendix in the back, the matrix of the committee. So it keeps it consistent, just like all the other ones that you adopted. And when was that back? Anyway, when you adopted that. So it keeps it consistent, 4-year terms, 5 board members. Same authority, the mayor will appoint the members and council will confirm them. The other thing that came up was that there was previously a homeless task force.
Homelessness task force.
Homelessness. Okay, so we don't have to disband or do away with the homelessness task force because it was created by resolution as an ad hoc committee. And so an ad hoc committee is a temporary committee that's assigned a task. And when the task is done, the committee is done and no longer exists. So with the homelessness task force that was created previously, that in 12 months, they had 12 months to issue a report to council, and that was done. And so that committee technically no longer exists. And so at this point in time, we have two resolutions that, you know, and the process was discussed at the study session. Like I said, 635 will add this to the mayor council protocol manual. And then the next item on the agenda, ordinance number 1094, will add this to our municipal code consistent with our other boards and commissions.
Questions, comments? Councilmember Hess.
I understand the reason we're setting this up. I have being with the Regional Housing Commission, we pay, one of the issues I have is the resources. Resources includes funds. And the city already pays into a fund that is to help with the homelessness issue within Thurston County as a whole, that we apply for and everything else like that. I just want to make sure that with this committee, that when we're talking about resources, we're talking about maybe the networking side, actual buildings that we might already have, things like that. That is not funds that they are all of a sudden approaching and wanting funds from the city.
Versus when the resolution was written, the intent of it, with the resources of the last whereas was it didn't define exactly. I mean, it just says.
As I said, that is just one of my concerns, that we already pay into a regional commission that then doles out according to. I just want to make sure that we are not looking, that this is not a funded committee.
It's not, and I'm just gonna read that whereas, part of the resolution. It says, whereas the homelessness committee will identify areas in which the city may use its resources to coordinate or support services for the homeless population in Yelm. So it's mainly to identify it, not to utilize those resources. It's just, like all of our committees, they make recommendations to the council. The council has ultimate authority and decision-making authority to move forward with it. Councilmember Blair.
I want to clear, the reason that term is used is because it's not meant to be a specific thing. Money could be a thing, but it's not meant as the city building a shelter or the city building something or paying directly for something to happen. It's if the whole point of it is for the actual organizations around here that are actually doing things. When they identify, hey, we need help with something, for instance, maybe it's the warming/cooling center. They're running low on money and they need some help covering the gap of, because they have to pay a couple people to be there every night. Let's say they see that they're gonna run out and they need $1,000. They go to the committee, have that discussion. Committee says, I think we can make this happen. Committee brings it here. Okay. Or it's, hey, we use the community center, or it's not meant, when we were discussing, it was never intended to be the city's gonna try and tackle this problem. It's what are you guys doing? What do you need? How can we help? And what can we do that actually makes sense as far as where the city's coming from? That's all. It's not intended to take, like, that's a whole nother discussion as far as the county group. It's not intended to take over what they do at all. It's just what can we do specific to here.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Crossman.
More comment than questions. So I actually have put my thought process on this committee for a couple of reasons based on talking with council members and stakeholders, people in the community, is I don't think it's really necessary per se of having a homeless committee, as we have, if there's issues in the community, things didn't get done, people are more than welcome to come to the council and present their requests. Because there's a whole plethora of things out there that people want, you know, Prairie Soccer Club, for instance, is, you know, this is equal standing as anything else. But we don't have a special committee just for them, so for me, I think it's more of a waste of time and resources that doesn't really add to anything. That if an organization that's already doing stuff, that's doing good stuff, wants to do, they can still make the same request to council with or without the committee. And so for me, I think it's more of a just kind of a waste of resources, and, you know, let's cut through all the time of having committees and red tape, you know, let's go more direct. You can come to council members, you come to us. You know, we have Councilmember Brooks is active in that committee, so she's a direct link, but her position could change. You know, somebody else could be in that position, but they still have the same access to us to present the requests as any other organization in town has, so. My thoughts on it.
Other questions, comments? Let's go to Councilmember Blair and then Hess again.
I don't totally disagree with that. I think the intention though is to have that specific sub-organization within the city that they can go directly to. Have those conversations ahead of coming to council. I get where you're coming from 100%. I'd rather just have the organization show up at the council meeting and say, hey, we want to do X, Y, Z. We're falling short here. This is what we need to help get it done. And that doesn't always, like I said, that doesn't always mean money. But I get that, but at the same time, I see the value in having that specific like sub-organization where they come in to talk and figure out the details of it prior to coming to us.
Councilmember Hess.
I was gonna say to add to what Councilmember Blair brought in, I see the need for it. Because it makes it easier if all these organizations have one spot to go to. And then it's one report that comes to the city council instead of the local Red Cross, local Goodwill, just forgot Little Bounds, and then we all of a sudden go from a possible hour to 2-hour meeting to now we have 5 organizations standing up, presenting, and we're sitting here and they all of a sudden, while they're talking, are also realizing, hold it here, we have shared resources. If they could have had that committee meeting ahead of time, they can find out what together they're able to present and then come as a united front. I think that'd be a lot better and a lot more efficient for presenting to us for an ask.
Councilmember Richardson.
Yeah, I really do appreciate all the input here. It's helping me think things through. You really don't know what you don't know until you get involved. And, you know, I agree with what was being said there as well, that there's organizations, nonprofit organizations in this community that already are kind of doing this help here. And I don't see homelessness decreasing anytime soon as things increase as far as going to the store and buying things. Everything's getting expensive. I think if we have something in place ready to help dictate what we can do to accomplish it or have a solution, I think it would be wise to put something in place. But I do appreciate the comment of coming forward to council at any time. I think that should be something that should be a precedence that everybody should acknowledge that is a thing you can do. But I do think with this specific situation, we might need to consider something to put in place. So as was shared across the board. So when it is brought to council, there's less discussion, less time. People are already involved and know what the needs are. And that would be something that we could manage better.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Smith.
I just feel it's a slippery slope. I personally feel that if we start this, and yes, I understand like what James was saying, it's not necessarily that the city's gonna fund it or any of that. I just feel like it's gonna kind of have a blurred line. That's just my personal opinion, so.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Brooks.
Could I have you elaborate on what you mean by blurred line?
So And, you know, I think, you know, I mean, I did work outreach for 12 years. I understand it. This, and I'm trying to look at myself as a citizen. This is at city council, we're voting on a resolution and an ordinance. But yet we're saying the city isn't necessarily gonna provide resources. That's where I'm struggling.
Councilmember Hess.
Well, to address the resources, we have resources. We've got the community center that could be set up as a warming center. We've got a variety of other things of public land that, if necessary, can be, utilized for various reasons. What I would like to add, I know that's a 5-member board, and I understand keeping it 5 members, but I really would like to push that those organizations here in Yelm, they make sure they have somebody represented on those meetings and that they are at every one of those meetings in some way, because just to have those 5 members to sit and talk, we are not building that network. We aren't getting that listing of resources, of shared resources between, and finding a way that certain organizations go, well, I need, and then one of the other organizations saying, we can assist there, no need to go ask the committee up to the council, be able to work that out. I just want to make sure that we are communicating with those those organizations and having them involved.
So those 5 members would be the voting members on the committee, as far as bringing things forward to the council and all that. But in an open meeting, anyone is welcome to attend those meetings. So if there was more that wanted to have input on it, they could absolutely attend. And
as I said, it's just the same as like the Regional Housing Commission. They've got the voting members, but then they have the whole technical support element that's coming in with reports of saying, hey, we've increased by 20% of homelessness, or hey, here's the true ask that's needed, so that then the board members who are making votes are, they need to make sure they have that infrastructure. If not, it's just 5 members meeting however often, talking amongst themselves and not getting that support there. So we need to make sure that that is properly supported.
Councilman Richardson, then Brooks.
Just prior to COVID, we were as churches, the churches had assembled some kind of a group where they were meeting together, and most of the reason was you would have people that were considered homeless or in need of something. They would go from church to church to church, and so we developed a network amongst the churches to where if so-and-so comes to your church, describe what they look like, what did they ask for. So when they went to the next place, that they weren't being taken advantage of, but we were able to help somebody. But sometimes when people come around asking for help, it's like, well, how many times have they already done this previous? And so we had developed something that way because there was a need in the community, but that was done on our own through churches. So as was suggested by Hess, I would hope that on that committee, if there was to be in existence, that you would have local organizations to serve and sit, because the only people who really know what's going on in this community are those who are already involved and are doing those things now. If you start something with fresh new people and it's like, what are we gonna do? Guys, this has already been happening. This is already in the works. You need to find those people that are doing this right now and get them involved. And so that would be my hope for this. And if the city would get involved with the community at large, that is already something that is happening, maybe find out local community dinners that are already happening and saying, hey, we would hope that you would come sit on our committee. That would be a hope. Again, it's working together. Are we going to fix everything, find a solution for everything? Probably not. But if anything, we could do more together than being apart. So I really hope that the initiative of all this is really bringing the community together to help do something.
Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Hess, or excuse me, I'm sorry, Brooks and then Hess, excuse me.
I can go first.
I was just gonna make a motion, but if there's more discussion,
Okay.
I'll allow that, but I was gonna make the motion.
Okay, did you still want to speak, Councilmember Brooks? Did you still have a question?
I have a comment, yes.
And then we'll go with Crossman and Kaminsky.
I acknowledge all of the board's concerns and comments. some of them make my stomach literally turn. I'm gonna say this anyways, and that is, I see that moving these two pieces of business would further the commitment to the acknowledgement that homelessness is an issue here in Yelm, and that we're doing more than thoughts and prayers when it comes to seeing the rise in numbers of all ages of those that are homeless. This would serve as a soundboard, as a place for connection, and would involve every organization and person that is in need of services to not be homeless. Yeah, that's what I have.
Councilmember Crossman,
What's first?
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Oh, thank you. That was just lovely. And I don't diminish or not acknowledge the importance of this. As for the resolution, I'm kind of on the fence, but I wanted to reiterate what James said. This is because the homelessness task force had such an outcry of the public and community of things they wanted and did not want. I want to make sure that the public understands that this committee would be an intermediary touch point to the council, and that the council and the city are not doing anything, but it's in the hands of other people, and we are a communication point. I just wanted the public to know that, so that they are not outraged or have any issue with it, but I do acknowledge that it is important.
Councilmember Crossman.
Yeah, so 2 points. Number one, it was written thousands of years ago, and it's true since the dawn of man. We will always have poor, we will always have homeless. They can't be solved. I don't know any place on this planet that has solved the issue. If you do find that place, let me know, because a lot of people would like that information. But we do have to help our fellow mankind, and I'm not, against that. I do that a lot, and my work is not public when I do that stuff. It's private. And so, and also, to Kaminsky's comment about the public, and what they want, we're representatives of the public, and I have to balance my voice of, what I think, what I feel, versus what does the citizens of Yelm want, what do they feel? And I have to bring that voice as well. This issue of the homeless, it seems like they get special treatment because there's a majority of them, not all of them, because I have lived the life outside of a house. I have lived in a tent. I know what that's like. But that was a choice. There are a few people at homeless that are a choice. There's a few sub-segment that's, they have mental illness. We wonder why it increases so much recently. We have to look at society, the drugs, the breakdown of family. There's a whole plethora of issues, and we can go forever on that discussion. And then there's the drugs and people who choose that lifestyle, and they don't want to be productive members of society. I met them, I know them. And so they should not receive special treatment because they don't want to be a part of society. So we have to bring this balance of how do we balance all these issues and all these people together. And that's why I want to rely on organizations like Love Abounds, like churches that do the work, that help people that want help. I 100% support that. I give to it, I help it myself. But as a role of government and as a committee, I'll stick by what I said before. I just don't think it's useful, and I'm going to balance the voice of the people on this one more than my own personal feelings as well. And that's why I'm going to stay.
Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Hess.
After hearing all the discussion and with part of the motion, I'm just gonna say that this is going to be, I think, a good thing to help, as Councilmember Crossman put it, all those organizations. It gives them a place to come, communicate. They know what day that everybody can meet. It can all be agreed upon, and they can discuss those issues. I'd like to make the motion to approve resolution number 634, amending the advisory board of commissioners roles and responsibilities to the mayor and city council protocol manual as appendix 13, creating a homelessness committee.
Second by Councilmember Richardson. Is there any further discussion? Let's do a roll call vote. Start with Councilmember Kaminsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Hess.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Councilmember Crossman. No. Councilmember. Councilmember Blair.
Yes.
With that vote, the motion carries. All right, moving on to item C, ordinance number 1094, establishing a homeless committee or home. It says homeless committee on here. Council can change it to homelessness if they want, as Councilmember Hess just did. Kathy, just want to reiterate what that does real fast.
So ordinance 1094 is, we'll just put the homelessness committee, if the motion so names it. And we'll add that to our municipal code as a standing committee.
Questions, comments on this one? Very similar thing. Councilmember Hess.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1094, amending chapter 2.3736 of the Yelm Municipal Code and establishing a homelessness committee.
Councilmember Blair.
Someone, makeup of the committee. I'm running right now.
Yeah, right now there is a motion on table. We have to have a second, then we can,
That's why I wanted to comment. I just wanted to make a motion.
Councilmember Brooks, did you? Second by Councilmember Brooks. Any further discussion? Councilmember Blair? Your question stands.
Yeah,
All right.
the makeup of the committee. I know we had discussion about it. I wanted to see more of it be direct representatives of the organizations and people that live here, not necessarily a copy and paste of the homelessness organizations throughout the county and state. I don't care to see someone in Seattle or Olympia that says they're an expert in XYZ being part of the committee for what this is about. A motion and second already.
So in response to that, it is, does have a residency requirement that you have to live in the Yelm area. So no one from Seattle could be on this committee.
Regarding the residency, that's for everything on there, everyone?
That is correct.
We're gonna pull mental health experts and
Yeah.
directly from Yelm only.
We already approved the residency in the resolution. The ordinance doesn't
Okay.
specify residency.
Okay, so would you want to repeat that to the council?
So the resolution that was just approved defined the residency, and it had some guidelines of, people to try to get a group of people within that 5-member committee. That was just approved by council. So the ordinance that's before you right now is just putting in the municipal code. It doesn't have anything to do with the residency. So that was just approved in the previous resolution.
And also, I will be sure to appoint folks that are from the Yelm area and uphold that spirit of this. Councilmember Crossman, then.
Yeah. So is Yelm area residency, is that defined? What is that defined as?
The area.
Oh, I know, but I mean,
Defined area.
Zip code.
zip code, I would assume zip code,
We'll go
but
by that.
I just want to make sure if that was.
If they're in the area, I think it also, if there isn't a specialist necessarily in Yelm, I think we could expand that to Lacey. If we don't see in Lacey, Olympia, and that'll probably be the furthest in Thurston County. Councilor Heston Brooks.
If I remember correct from the study session, when this was discussed, because that was brought up, it was that you want to try to find somebody from there. And references Yelm area residents, I'm gonna have an issue with the definition of area. It should be Yelm City residents. This is people that are going to be approaching the city council that represents the city residents, not the 98750.
Some of them South Wall Hills are outside the city.
All that is also Lake Lawrence and various other locations. This is for yet the city of Yelm. So.
Yeah, it's already passed.
No, and I've always thought, but I did not, when I see Yelm residents, I did not think area of, be Lake Lawrence or.
I do. I define those as Yelm area, but
Okay,
personally,
well-
I grew up in Lake Lawrence. I paid sales tax. I paid all
Well, I
that.
understand that, but as I also point out to people, can come and, communicate. But when it's gonna come down to making decision or presenting, it's we here, the 7 of us, we are adherent to those in the city itself that pay the property tax that fills our revenues. And so those are who we should be having. If this needs to be addressed in the future about all of our committees that we have, then I think we need to address it, because outside of the city, I mean, when I describe where I live, they go, "Yeah," and they go, "Where's Yelm?" That's outside of Olympia. I'm in the Olympia area. I cannot go and sit on an Olympia board. I can't go sit on any committee or anything else like that. So if we need to go through all of our codes and readdress this in reference to our boards and committees, I think that's something we need to look at in the next study session.
Yeah, 3 other council members agree with that. We will absolutely do that. But let's stay on the topic here, though.
But in reference to that specialist in addiction, mental health issues, those were, if somebody is there, that's who we want to try to get. But if not, and I'm sure within all the organizations that we have here in Yelm, there are people that fall in, that can be in there somewhere.
Yeah, again, council, I will absolutely try to get from inside city limits, then we'll expand outside until it's just not Yelm. But we will focus on the Yelm area. Councilor Brooks?
You said exactly what I was gonna say.
Cool. Any other questions, comments? We'll look for a motion. Or no, excuse me,
Very good.
I apologize. We have a motion by Councilmember Hess, second by Brooks. Any further discussion? Go ahead and take a roll call vote again on this, starting with Councilmember Blair.
No.
Councilor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossman,
No.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Councilmember Hess,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right. Thank you, council. Good discussion. Moving on to item number D. Reader board proposal selection vote, a lot easier, less controversial.
Let's controversial.
I was just joking.
Come on.
Jason, would you like to brief us on this few options that we have here?
Yeah, you have to excuse me, council. I'm getting over the tail end of a cold, so just trying to keep my germs from spreading the most I can today. I think we'll load it up. So coming for you today, we have the same 2 proposals we originally discussed in the study session, but wanted just to review it in an official council meeting, so we all have it on record of what we're talking about. We did reach back out as we got closer to having an actual vote on this, as IT always does. We do our best to negotiate with our vendors to get the prices down as low as we can. So although our original proposal from our in-house option has not changed, we have gotten the vendor option to come down substantially. Go ahead and jump forward a slide for me. In our similar background information, the original sign that we have out there now was purchased in 2007 from National Sign Corp up in Seattle. It costed about $25,000 at the time. And the sign malfunctioned back in 2020, and we've been looking for a solution since then. We've had lots of people that have brought it up to us since then as a city. We reached out to National Sign Corp again to get an update on what it would cost to repair the sign in 2021, and they basically told us it's non-repairable. It's got to be decommissioned. So after that happened, IT came up and did some brainstorming, and we said, well, what can we do to get a sign out there that will meet the needs of the residents and come in under cost? And we came up with an idea after researching a bunch of different options like they do in Las Vegas, where they use digital signage TVs. And we were able to create a proposal for around $8,000 total. That's with current pricing, and things change as the economics have changed here lately a lot. So that's our current proposal as it stands. If you go to the next page, we can kind of get a little image of what that might look like for the residents of Yelm. That would be it's an 85-inch television enclosed in protective glass that will show still images of our events, similar to the TVs in our lobby, if any of you guys have seen that when you came in, and allow us to display that information to the public, including if we needed to, like a QR code even, someone could, add for a link. And then the second proposal, if you couldn't go forward, Kathy, is to replace the existing signage with, it's a reface, they call it, but basically the exact same sign that's there now with an updated logo to our new logo and cleaned. And that was, the current proposal is now 19,400, which is about 6,500 lower than their original request that they had sent us. We had put in our budget request for 25,000, but that was based off of our initial outreach of saying, how much would it cost? What should we budget for? Not what's a specific proposal that you're willing to sell us today. That is based off of a specific proposal they're willing to sell us today after negotiating and letting them know that our council is willing to look at a vote today. And if you go down one more, Kathy, that's just, you know, an idea of the size, general shape of what it would look like. It would look virtually the same that we have now. And if you guys have any other questions or anything, that's it. If Kathy goes to the next slide, it'll just be a side by side.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Is there a TV that would fit in there and leave the city of Yelm part?
So in our analysis of doing this, there's a mathematical equation. I don't want to get too far into it about how large a screen should be for the distance of viewing angle from that location to the road. The recommended size was 85 inches. In order to make that work, the top logo has to come off when a TV is involved.
Other questions, Councilmember Smith?
What about the workings, like not the workings, but controlling it? Is one easier than the other? Do you know what I mean? Like the upload?
So with proposal 2 from the company, and I just want to include that does come with a 7-year warranty. That's something worth noting. It is a substantial warranty. In proposal 2, you would need to run similar to what we have now, which is either a station still in the Boys and Girls Club that we have to walk over and manually alter, or we'd have to pay a monthly fee to a company like Verizon to hook up like an internet connection right through the Verizon cloud. With proposal 1, what we would do there is we would be getting something called an Amazon Fire Stick and having a network connection that goes all the way back, and we can beam it back to use our internet connection we already paid for. So there would be a slightly less cost per month from that standpoint.
Councilmember Blair.
What was the model number on the TV?
It's a QN90, QN90A. It's got to be specific to that model number. It has to do with nits, which is the brightness of the screen. It's about 4 times brighter than your average TV in your home. It's designed to be viewed under full sunlight. It's got about 1,500 nits, if that means anything.
Councilmember Crossman.
So no questions for you per se, but it's my thoughts on this whole thing. As most of y'all know, I'm against it. I'm not a big fan of e-boards. I don't think we should do this at all, but if we do proceed, my recommendation is, as Terry would tell you, in real estate and business and marketing, location, location, location. I think this is a poor location for it. There are 3 ways in and out of town, only 3 in Yelm, as we all know, because we sit in that traffic. If you want, I think if you want a reader board to be successful, you would put one at each of those locations. Either end of the bypass and coming from Rainier. If you want to effectively get the message out, because I know for one, I do not drive this path at all. I go around it, and I know a lot of people that go around it, so we'll get a very minute people in the community that will actually even see it. Then have that number, how many will actually read it? And now that number, how many will get the message that is coming on at that time? It's just, it doesn't make the ROI is not, I just don't see the numbers happening.
Councilmember Hess.
As you've heard me say before, I always sit down and ask, what's the purpose of this? It's to inform our community members. Last year, we did the budget for $25,000. If we go with proposal 1, as a huge savings that we have, and take that remaining element of that and find a way to have it given to the communications director for the sole purpose of developing a newsletter that over time is initially for everybody with the capability of somehow getting it down to where those who want to have it pushed out to them and get it pushed out via email, those who wish to remain having a hard copy, still have that, and we can look at the budget again later on how much of doing that. But if, as I say, if this is to inform our community members, we need to also try to find money to get them informed.
Councilmember Blair.
Looking for a motion here, or what are we doing?
This is up to the council. I mean, there's two options up there. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna move, we go with proposal one.
Second that.
The motion by Councilmember Blair, second by Councilmember Richardson. Do we need is that good enough for the motion? Okay. Any further discussion? Councilmember Hess.
I'd like to make an amendment to that.
As long as it's a friendly amendment that Councilmember Blair and Councilor Richardson agree on, yeah.
My amendment is going back to what I just said. We budgeted $25,000 for a reader board to inform the community. I'd like to have the remainder of that amount set up for the communication director to be used only to find a way to develop a newsletter, get it out there, and find a way and develop a program of getting something that communicates to the residents as another form. This is something similar to what you said during the study session.
I'm not against that, I just don't see why there's even a budget needed for that. I mean, we've already got, I believe you guys have already added info into water bills. You added a spot in the water bill with information going out.
All they added was that council meeting. That's it. There's nothing there
Well,
about.
that's because there was nothing else this year that, or during that time that,
Planning commission.
Hold on, you guys, one at a time. Councilmember Blair.
then all I ask is if we can figure out a way to make more space or whatever you gotta do, list whatever meetings are happening that month.
Do you want to address that?
I'm assuming that's what you guys are gonna do.
The plan is we're gonna send something out to ask people how they would like to get that information. So the idea is to pay with water bills, send out a flyer, send out a questionnaire, put out questionnaires on our website, everywhere, to find out how people would like to get information from us. And then we'll tailor a whole plan on what that looks like. If they want an email, if they want a hard copy. So the idea is to find out first what people want, how they want to get notified of what's going on.
Okay.
And then we'll develop a plan on how we can best do that.
All right. I don't feel any need to dedicate anything to that right at the moment. If you guys are already doing that, do that, let us know what's up, and then we can go from there.
I'm going to call a point of order.
Sure. Point of order.
Clarification here. So if I'm remembering my rules correctly. So motion was made, passed. He made an amendment. Does not the amendment have to be seconded and vote on to change the original motion? And then we vote on that motion?
I believe the original motioner has to agree with the motion or the amendment. If that amendment, if they do both the motioner and the second, then it's the vote of council to make that amendment. If that's not the case, you believe it's not correct, you want to vote on it rather, you can go ahead and do that. Councilmember Blair.
He's actually.
There's a motion on the floor to amend it. There has been no second. If there's no second to this amendment, the motion dies. And we would go back to the first motion.
Thank you. Yes.
So the original. Okay. Is there a second? Okay, then the motion dies, or the amendment dies, excuse me. All right, there's still a motion, a second on the table then. Thank you. And thank you, Councilor Crosser, for the point of order. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, we'll take a roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Kaminsky.
Aye for proposal one.
Okay, and this is specifically on proposal one C. You don't have to mention this is proposal one.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Brooks,
Nay?
Councilmember Hess,
Okay.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossman,
No.
Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Blair.
Yes.
Got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 3. Motion carries.
We're split tonight. Good job, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, council. We will go ahead and get on it for the for option A. Good discussions.
My family.
Moving on to item number 7. There's none scheduled for old business. Moving on to 8, get standing council committee reports. We'll start with the Public Safety Committee. All right, thank you. We'll go with Public Services Committee now.
We had a meeting today. It was it was a good informational one. There was from the city engineer, he talked about, he just kind of briefed us on the southern bypass, not an exact route, but that there is something there that it's working with, trying to work with future developers, letting them know what we're trying to get and what that proposed path might be. And I'm hoping that we can kind of shore that up and kind of find a way to make that work a little bit sooner than later. We also had the stage design, right now they're going through trying to get a generic to start with, but from Director Colt, he says that here's the following proposal, is that in August, we will have a proposal brought before us of what the stage will look like. Construction will begin after the Jazz Festival, and it should be completed by the end of October. Is that correct? Okay, I got that. We also talked about park impact fees, just like the police department brought up about the SRO, same thing with the park impact fee. We've already approved the impact fee with the budget. It's just now we need to codify it properly so that it can be implemented. And that will be brought up in April. And again, it's just for clarity. We also had some upcoming code updates that are going to be presented to the Planning Commission first and then brought to the council afterwards. The first one is currently we have special events and temporary usage, and they're going to basically have true definitions for those two. The special events being city, anything that occurs on city property itself or public property, and temporary events are what occurs on a private property. Another code update that's going to be done is in reference to the central business district and our commercial districts of C1, C2, and C3. It's working with that mixed use approach and trying to get it so it's a little bit more friendly for the staff and developers to be able to work with in reference to the wording. They're looking at other municipalities and trying to get that put together so that it becomes a lot easier and more user friendly. And then the third update that will be coming soon is in reference to the state RCW, which we will be requiring us to come up with various forms of housing and shelters within the residential and commercial properties. And it's what is the definition of the transitional housing, temporary housing, emergency shelter, and emergency housing. It's getting that properly set up so that it's done appropriately. And some of the things we're looking at is making sure it's codified properly of how far away from schools and various other things to make sure that it's properly done and set up safely.
Thank you, Councilmember Hess.
Apologize.
Going on to page 2.
Hey, we've not done it. We're also looking at the comp plan. There's update, and it's going to be about a cost of about $250,000, if I remember that correctly. Although a good 80% of it will be covered by grant, we are providing the other 20%. April 24th, we're looking at the Habitat comp plan, chapters 1 and 2 being briefed to the stakeholders and to the city. April 10th is a housing action plan meeting to discuss the affordable housing that needs to be discussed, and I don't want to say developed, I can't remember the right term, but by 2045, and again, this comes from the RCWs, that we're trying to get something put together there. Just some numbers for that. Median income for City of Yelm is $86,000. We have 43% of residents that are below that median. And so there'll be some discussions about that, of how we go about doing that. 2nd Street sidewalk from Mossman to Cochran Park is ready to get started. And the PSA for the trail design is being put together to go from where it last ended to the bridge. Other than that, that's what we got.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to the Finance Committee. for your long report. Councilman Richardson. Moving on to Mayor, City Minister, staff reports. You want to start us off?
Sure, new streetlights are going up and officers are being hired. That's it.
Yay.
Correct.
First week.
I'll keep it pretty short. Attended the EDC meeting, our local, there's an EDC meeting. Got a nice tour of the brewery over in I forget the name of the place now. Distillery, Heritage Distillery. It's pretty cool. Talked about some other things, but other than that, the only other thing I want to do is just to address Councilor Crossman. We're talking about the amendment process and all that. If an amendment is accepted as friendly by the proposer of the amendment, then many bodies will allow it to be accepted without a formal vote. So if Councilmember Blair did accept it, we could have moved through as a friendly amendment. What you said, it wasn't incorrect, though, if it, for a lack of a second, it would die otherwise. So either way, it would have been acceptable. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Start with council committee report or council reports, starting with Councilmember Blair. Councilmember Richardson.
Had a wonderful meeting this morning with a bunch of nonprofits put on by Stephanie King, so she's here tonight. And also I had Deb Larson was at that meeting, and Amanda was there, the director of the chamber, and also I see Ashley Brooks everywhere I go nowadays. It's great. Really good informal meeting with nonprofits, because I think nonprofits have a different way they function. And I think honestly, with what we've talked about tonight, I think that's going to be probably something that we talk about more. So as good community things going, we've got to keep it city. And so that's what we're about.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Crossman.
All right, I'm going to give you the minutes for the public services. I want to highlight planning commission. Planning commission meeting was last week. Very interesting, went really long. I thought it was going to be like, 10 minutes, we're out of here. No, but I am surprised that the stakeholders, do not attend that meeting, because there is some very good information. So if you are a developer, builder, investor, business owner, keep an eye on planning commission, because things that go through there come down the line. And then, so I did attend, not as a council member, as a business owner, rebuilding together Thurston County, but I was recognized as being a council member there as well. So just a fundraiser for helping low income, etc., with building items.
Oh, I went to that too.
Yeah, you went to that. You were there. We represented good at the table.
Forgot about that.
And yeah.
All right, Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I attended the beautification grant meeting that we had, and I also attended the planning commission, and he took the words right out of my mouth. I think people really need to know what's going on, because a lot of stuff does happen here. It was an interesting meeting.
Councilmember Hess. Anything else to report? Councilmember Brooks.
Yeah, on St. Patrick's Day, I attended the study meeting in Bucota. And the sheriff made a presentation at that meeting. And as always, we conferred about the local events in each one of our cities. And then as a reminder, the Community Resource Fair is this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're welcoming Intercity Transit and South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity as new tablers. And the giveaway this month, because every month's a giveaway, is from Bounty for Families, and they're doing a food security themed giveaway in the form of seed packs and beginner instructions on how to start gardening. And that is it.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Other than the other reports, Brian, you did a great job. I had my Nisqually River Council meeting here in Yelm at the community center. We had a lady speak from the HEAL, H-E-A-L, Healthy Environment for All Act, and the Environmental Justice Council, which was interesting, but the focus was on the underserved and vulnerable populations that were affected by environment. And where I'm coming from is, if you have a clean environment, everybody is safe. Because to me, you have it backwards. So we had a discussion on that. And also we had a presentation on the planning of the I-5 Marvin to Mounts Road Bridge. They showed us 2 or 3 or 4 different versions of what they may or may not do with the bridge. And then lastly, they are going to be having a rafting float this year down the Nisqually. So I'll bring you more details on that later.
Cool, okay. I did want to update council too. I forgot to mention, in the House proposed, in the Washington State Legislature, the House proposed budget, transportation budget does include, or moves up the timing for the Yelm Loop. Prior to that, the governor pushed it back to past 2030 in his proposal. Representative Andrew Barkis has been a great ally for the city of Yelm and advocate for us in that project, and working with him, he was able to move it up. I wasn't in his proposal. That being said, the Senate also has to concur. They're gonna be meeting here pretty soon. They haven't released the Senate budget yet, but when it comes out, we're hoping to see a similar timeline for them. Other than that,
Moved it up to what?
moved it up
Moved it
to
up
next year,
compared to-
to where it should be, with construction starting next year. Yeah, Councilmember Hess.
In reference to what you just reported, if it fails, and this is for the public at large, I think it's time that we start doing letter writing, calling, emailing, and letting the governor know that this is unacceptable. 2015, I believe, is when that loop was funded and supposed to get started and completed. And just to let you know, if you're following what's going on with Washington State Department of Transportation, just last year, if I remember correct, as Highway 18 and I-90 interchange, they proposed it. They are already beginning construction on that. So that means that we, as a community here in Yelm, the area here in Yelm, we are being looked at as not being important. So however it gets done, if this doesn't come through for us, we need to start, something needs to be done. The governor needs to know that a promise was made in 2015 and it has yet to be completed, and that loop is important for Yelm because we cannot manage our growth. We cannot manage anything. And when they start working on I-5, it is going to be a nightmare because I-5, you shut down any lanes on I-5, where do they come? They come right through here. If we don't have that loop, we are going to be in a traffic jam. So thank you for letting us know that the governor wanted to push it to 2030. Yeah, that's way past it's way past due.
Page 2 of that we got some roundabout money into that's specified, because it was already approved, but it's Representative Barkis put a budget proviso in the transportation budget that would specify that it's built immediately. So that's also a huge thing for us. And that's not just the one in Yelm, it's including the one in McKenna as well, which is, you know, kind of the choke or the bottleneck of all this traffic. All right, other than that, we do have an executive session, a 30-minute executive session to discuss with legal counsel, the consideration, site selection, but just to be safe here. The council will now meet in executive session for 30 minutes to discuss with legal counsel the consideration of site selection or acquisition of real estate RCW 42.30.1101B. The council will be in executive session until 8:15. Official business from March 28, 2023 has been, never mind, not on that. Oh yeah, no, I read that right too. All official business from March 28, 2020 has been completed and the council is not expecting further action on the executive session.
Joe, can I say something real quick before we cut the feed? It's not an action. Just so the council members are aware, our planning commission meetings are recorded and posted on our YouTube. I think if you guys are trying to get outreach to the public, letting them know that might be useful. That's it.
Thank you. All right, thank you for everyone. If you do want to wait, we'll be back in 30 minutes, but there's no more action to be taken. You want to chat though and stay? Thanks for coming.
8:50.
Where's
He has to read something.
where's the executive?
Call the meeting back.
All right, call this meeting back to order at 8:15. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Everybody, 1 nay.